We talk about the arrival of ChatGPT everyone's hyping it up. It's having its moment. Does this newfound popularity, I'll call it, in your mind, help or hurt Indico when you're talking to prospective customers or when there's potential to be listed in reports like this?
Yeah, I think the way I think about generative AI is it's a new programming language. I think that's the right way to think about it. I think there's a tendency in the market right now to think about it as a Swiss Army knife of applications that can solve everything. And ChatGPT is like, not to take anything away from ChatGPT. I think if you've used it, it's jaw-dropping, right? We are at a real inflection point. But it really is a new programming language. The disruption here is two things. One, you can program it with data for the first time, right? Rather than having to give it instructions in a syntax it understands, C# or Python or whatever, you can use data to guide it. The second is the syntax you use also is English. I say English, and I do that deliberately for this reason, because sometimes people have corrected me and say, or French or Spanish or Italian. I'm like, well, hang on, let's pay attention to how GPT was trained, right? GPT is trained by consuming digital information on the internet. The internet is about 85% English. So be careful thinking that GPT is going to work just as well in all those languages when the training data available is vastly smaller and gets very small very quickly, right, as you go out into the long tail.
Spoiler alert, it definitely doesn't.
Right, it does not. So there's 1.5 billion English language speakers on the planet. Conceivably, they're all suddenly GPT programmers, right? Compared to there's about 25 million software engineers in the world. So just to give you a sense of the scale of this potential impact. So I think that every software company in the world is suddenly having to step back and look at the moats that it thought it had with proprietary, software, because a lot of that software now is going to be very easily replicated with generative AI. So it cuts both ways. It also means that features that were previously out of reach are suddenly very much in reach. So for Indico, the benefit for Indico with generative AI is we built our entire application around a premise of large language models as the disruption. So the cloud LLMs, OpenAI, Llama, all these different cloud LLMs are just yet another flavor of that, another programming language that we put into the application and can take advantage of. So in the short term, there's a lot of sort of churn and maybe confusion and maybe a little overhyped expectations about what you can do just with Gen AI. But ultimately in the enterprise, you're going to have to think about how to safely, securely, and scalably take advantage of this new technology.